So we're here down at the bike shed with crew from Death Machines of London with their fantastic Airforce, which you might have seen at the Bike Shed London show last May. The bike's had a few changes since then, and we're going to have a quick chat about them now. So this is James.
Hello. Hi, Ross.
Ray. Max.
So excuse the high-tech mic. We've got a wooden spoon here. So when we start making some money from YouTube, we'll be able to afford decent equipment. But for now, we're just going to go with this. So, firstly, James, can you pop show us the fancy key and then pop that in?
There's our key, which is an old 1/4-inch jack, actually off a Marshall amp. What we've done is we've rigged that with an immobilizer. So you need this key. You can't just chuck any old jack in there and get it started.
And it's not just a sort of run-of-the-mill. It's not a run-of-the-mill motor gadget thing. It's a proper transponder.
Yeah. We built this in-house.
Cool.
Yeah. So as soon as that goes in, then our dash lights up. I'll just give it a quick buzz on the starter button here, and that'll fire up the other lights.
Cool. And this is the LED array that Ray made, Ray's array?
Ray's array. So this is all CNC. So first of all, we 3D model all this stuff just to check that it all fits, because then what you're doing is you're mixing incredibly precise CNC with the natural imprecision of a handmade aluminium body. Yeah. So we kind of meet halfway. So we make the CNC, we make the 3D printed model, marry it up to the aluminium form, and then start to change a bit of the data in the actual 3D data, and also start to change a bit of the aluminium form, do a few more printouts, find out what's working, what's not, and then we actually go to CNCing for the final version. So this one's just a CNC alley that's been blasted and then anodized. Inside is an array of plastic slats that actually diffuse the light. So it's just a very standard LED stop and brake light. But because of the way that the slats work and because of the way that the light goes down them, you get this beautifully diffuse glow.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. And one of the other things that you were telling me earlier that you had 3D modelled and you're about to go into production with is these bar end levers.
Yeah.
Tell us about those.
Well, originally we'd for the show we were trying to find some decent inverse levers, which are actually quite difficult to find, surprisingly enough. And we did find a pair that we quite liked, and we started to customize those. But unfortunately, as always happens before a show, certainly at Death Machines, if something goes wrong, we unfortunately dropped.
I don't think it's just Death Machines. I think that's for everyone.
Well, that makes me feel a lot better. We just dropped one. Just one fell off one of the workbenches and shattered. So it must have been like one of the worst castings ever. But it was, we got it back together, and it was fine for the show. But what it prompted us to realise that, in order for us to take things to the next level, because we always want to push ourselves, we always want to see what's possible. So we decided to design our own, and what would we want to buy? So say we weren't Death Machines, what would we want to buy to put on our bikes? And so we started off quite a lengthy design process. Probably one of the reasons that the bike was kind of launched at the Bike Shed show, and then nobody ever saw it again.
Yeah, it completely disappeared. Yeah. I kept waiting to see pictures of it somewhere, but
it's because we were a bit dissatisfied, and we can't launch stuff that we're not happy with. But also the process of going through the design process of the levers took ages. And it took like 5 or 6 different complete 3D printouts to actually get right before we sent everything out to be CNC'd out of aviation grade aluminium. But what we have now is we have a set of levers that we're immensely proud of, that we're really happy with.
And you were telling me that they're reversible and all the mechanism is hidden beneath these.
It's basically the same part. So we just need to create the same part for either side. We have plates over the shoulder bolt mechanisms, because we hate seeing bolts. We hate seeing the workings of these things, and they just need to be very beautiful and simple. What that allows us to do is use a shoulder mount bolt, which when you tighten it up, it creates a strong structure that doesn't actually pinch the lever.
So you don't get that wear over time and the slop in the lever.
Yeah, there's no slop. It's a completely tight fit.
The movement feels hydraulic on both sides. I know that is cable actuated to a. You've hidden a Brembo master cylinder somewhere under there.
It's best to ask these guys about that sort of thing.
So Ray, where is this master cylinder hidden?
Go on to that. I'd just like to say, because of the design of the levers, these have got hideously heavy clutches, and that's just the way they were. But if you feel that now,
that is genuinely that's.
And that's just done because we've got the angle right, and it works, you know. So yeah, but we're really pleased with that.
Have you put a different arm on?
No, it's all standard. It's a standard cable. When I say standard cable, we made the cable. Nothing standard on this motorcycle, but it just works, and it's a very linear feel, isn't it? So anyway, we wanted to carry on that effect on the other side. We wanted to use these calipers because we thought they were great, and we liked the way they look on it and all the rest of it.
What were they from?
They're not from anything, but they're billet Brembo racing calipers, yeah, and they're like quite a bit completely over the top for this bike, but I kind of like that idea. So anyway, we thought, how are we going to actuate it? How are we going to, So what we did back in the 70s, the BMW R series used to have cable-operated front brake with a master cylinder on the tank. So basically, we took that idea, we bought a Brembo RCS master cylinder, and we built a position under the tank where that works, and it's cable-operated. So it's cable and then onto an RCS and then down through the hydraulic system.
Which is going to be plenty for a bike which you've probably shed.
It's super over braked, but it's also super under braked because it hasn't got a rear brake.
Yeah.
So we thought
we'd see the photos, we'll be moaning.
We thought we'd overcompensate, so we did. And then they're biting on a pair of rotors that we designed and got them made in house as well.
So these rotors, you had what, laser cut or?
Yeah, how did they? I can't know how.
Well, the laser cut to start with, and then you need to harden them. So you put them in a kiln like 500 degrees, in a furnace, and then they get skimmed again, and the only thing that they got is that little blue line that is it's from the tool of the lathe.
Okay, yeah.
That's the only thing that is, and it's really nice because as the metal gets hot, it gets a different color, and that blue line, it just complements them fantastically.
And so have you had a chance to test the bike at speed?
I've ridden it briefly, yeah.
How brief's brief?
Brief, probably half a mile, something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's good enough to get up to speed on it and hear it.
And what's the plan for a proper run somewhere? Is that going to happen this year sometime?
I think we're going to wait for the weather to get a bit warmer and a bit less rainy and damp. I think an airfield would be
a clean one with no grit leaves, a nice smooth one.
Yeah, but I think that would be appropriate, taking Airforce out onto an airfield.
Or Goodwood or somewhere suitable.
Goodwood's got a fairly long straight there, but and coming back to the building of the bike.
Yeah.
Which bit was the biggest ball ache?
This bit.
Probably the single biggest thing after the frame. I mean, monoshocking one of these frames. I haven't seen it done. People have told me it's been done, but I haven't actually seen it done. So that was something to take on, because obviously it was a twin shock arrangement, and it's a California one, so it's got a longer wheelbase. After that, we've got to say the bodywork. Getting this bodywork was weeks and weeks and weeks. Yeah.
And I know from having sort of written the story earlier today that you weren't happy with the belly pan. Right. So the belly pan that we saw at the show, was that scrapped and you remade it completely?
Yeah, we threw it away. Basically, what it was on the side, it was a cover over the exhaust rather than being integral like that. James looked at it and he said, "I'm not happy with it," and we thought, well, let's do it again then. So we just chucked it off and done it again. Yeah. So
just did it again.
Another 6 weeks to get that together.
So the alternating cover is missing.
Yes.
Well, it's not missing. It's deliberately not there.
It's deliberately deleted. Yeah.
How come?
I thought it looked cool like that, and so that's how it is.
Sounds good enough to me.
How cool does that look? Yeah. We don't envisage running this in inclement weather, so it's not that sort of motorcycle. And I just thought it looked really cool, and it looked a bit aero. And
Well, it's very reminiscent of the aviation engines from the 20s. Yeah, where everything's exposed on the front of the plane. And like Ray said, this isn't going to be ridden in the wet, or in a sand dune, so it will be okay.
So Max, with the finished bike here, what's the bit that makes you most proud, seeing your handiwork on display?
Well, it's the whole thing about the bike and the way that we worked, the way that we managed to have the design and the engineering and everything else running side to side, as opposed to do a dry build of the bike. We had a very limited time to get it done, so everything had to slot in at a certain pace and certain spaces, and pulling that one off, I think that was the proudest thing.
And did you have sketches and renders to work to, or was a lot of it in your head?
No, James done some really cool renders to start with, and we worked backwards from them really. We knew what we wanted, but a lot of the bits they've been added during the process of building the bike. So we had an initial rendering, which was very uncompromising, because obviously the monoshock and the bike being very low, so the engineering side of it had to come after that, and that was a bit challenging, but it's really good that it's happened, because it taught us to work in a different way than previous builds, where we saw out all the engineering and then we look at the design. This one, it was a whole thing getting meshed all in one go over 3 months. Well, just over a 3 months period, which was...
So what was it, 112 days?
Yeah, 112 days, yeah.
So what's next? How are you going to top this? Because there's 112 days before the May show.
Have
you got enough time?
Yeah, we're underway.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So there will be something new and different at the show?
We didn't have a concept by this time last year for that.
This wasn't even drawn up this time.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't. I don't think we started drawing it up until like the 27th of January. Or early February.
That's fairly punchy.
Yeah.
But you got that done, so we're expecting big things.
Well, we'll be fine, in theory. What could possibly go wrong?
What would Giovanni say?
Yeah, so that's something we should mention if people haven't read the article. One of the inspirations for this build was Giovanni Ravelli, who was one of the founders of Moto Guzzi, who actually unfortunately died in a plane testing accident just before the company was officially founded. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he was a World War I fighter pilot, bike racer, and all-round hero, wasn't he?
The Italian devil.
Yeah. The Italian devil.
Yeah.
And he would have been 130 years old yesterday.
He would have
if he'd been a tortoise.
Yeah. No, so this was the original concept. It came from actually a conversation that Max and I were having when Max told me the story of Giovanni Ravelli, and it was quite inspiring to hear. And it led us to start looking at the planes that Giovanni flew. And
what are we talking, like Sopwith Camel type things?
Well, Italian versions of, yeah. And what was incredibly inspiring about looking at these old planes was, well, the materials that they used, the kind of like the colours, the materials, the finishes. So it was all very raw, but very, very beautiful. Incredible attention to detail in the most bizarre places, and then the places that you would have thought there would be attention to detail, like, I don't know, the seat in the cockpit. It was basically a deck chair and a stick. But when we were looking at the planes, you actually sort of like you see the top and the bottom wing, and they're obviously separated with a joist. What was an amazing, and I think it's a coincidence, if not, it's a great design foresight. The frame, so the downward struts on the Tonti frame are all, to within a degree of the angle of these struts on the biplane. So what we in fact had, looking at the silhouette, and the reason that we wanted to have not only aluminium across the top but going straight through the bottom as well, is so you've got this top and bottom wing that kind of calls back to this original biplane. And then you can see within the just on top of the engine casing there is a brass plaque where we dedicate this machine to Giovanni Ravelli.
And have you been in touch with his family at all, or is that possible?
We haven't been in touch with the estate. We've certainly been in touch with Moto Guzzi, who are extremely excited about the bike.
This should be in their museum, I would have thought.
Well, 120,000 euros and it's all theirs.
If you're watching Moto Guzzi, xe.com for the latest exchange rate, and is it James at dmolcustoms.com?
That'll do it. No, but they've been incredibly generous and kind to us, and they've supported us throughout the entire process. I think Max was in touch with them, in the early days of the development, and they were excited back then. And that's really encouraging because, a lot of the times, large brands, try and stamp down on any form of what they would class as dilution from their brand. But Moto Guzzi, true to their heritage, are fully into experimental bikes and custom bikes and pushing boundaries and seeing how far they can take the machines, and certainly when they found out that this was because of Giovanni Ravelli, they were more than happy for us to crack on, and I think they're very interested in doing something with it in the future. So we look forward to it.
It's done with their blessing.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely done with their blessing. Yeah.
So, are you able to let us in on what the next bike's going to be based on? Is it, you've done 2 Guzzis now and a Triumph? Are you allowed to, can you even tell us the colour of the flag? Right, okay.
We know what it is, but see, the thing is, anything can go wrong. And so it might end up not being that. It might end up being something else. But our intentions are that it isn't going to be a Triumph and it isn't going to be a Moto Guzzi.
Okay, so the world's your oyster on that one.
It's not going to be a Harley, so there we go.
So 25th of May.
That's what it's not.
I'll come see you in the car park at Tobacco Dock and find out. Perfect. Well, thanks ever so much for bringing it down, and this is going to be with us for a couple of weeks.
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
If you are local to Shoreditch, definitely worth making, even if you're not local, definitely worth making a beeline to come see the bike, because the devil really is in the detail, and not that we encourage you to get too close and don't touch it for God's sake, but do have a good look over it. There's all sorts of different angles, looking up the trumpets, the plaque that James mentioned, little bits of lock wire, with even tiny bits of lock wire which usually sharp on the ends, where they've got a bit of heat shrink over them. The really small bits that engineers will appreciate are all present on this bike. So yeah, I implore you to come down and have a good look at it. So we're going to now go and put it on its home and a bench in the other by the members entrance. So go do that now. Thanks guys.
Thank you.